Gonna give it just one more minute. Good afternoon, ladies. Thank you for being here.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
I'm still in the classroom, so I'll be able to participate, but I'm still in here today.
Okay, all right.
Okay. But I can hear you.
Okay.
And I'll come in and out. I'll read. I'm not moving from my chair.
Perfect. Feel free to mute yourself, and then when you go into the breakout rooms, unmute. It'll be fine. We will make it work. Glad to see all of you.
Tashina. Tashina, where are you going?
And she. I gotta do this.
All right. We're going to give it one more minute, and then we will get started. Great to see all of you. Thank you for being here. Right. We are, oh, okay. I see that, Holly. We're going to go ahead and get started, and if Judy and Sharon come in, that'll be fine. All right, so I want to start by saying that I am honored and privileged to share this time with you this afternoon. I love to facilitate conversations with leaders because leaders don't just sit around and wait for someone to tell them what to do. You're willing to dig in and grapple with the issues to make effective decisions. And so, like I told you last week, I think every single one of you are superheroes. And by the time we are done today, I want you to have a tangible product, a statement defining who you are in this present moment that will prove to be useful both professionally and personally. And the questionnaire that you received last week, I heard that some of you enjoyed going through those questions. I'm really glad because they really serve as a foundation for thinking about who you are and what you bring to the table as a leader. And if you didn't get to complete it, that's fine. I wanted it to be a primer to get your juices flowing and get you ready to discuss today. So if you didn't do it, then you're just going to have to be quick on your feet today and think about ways in which you'll engage in your breakout sessions. But I hope you had time to engage that tool a little bit. Now, before we get into this, I want to just start with some opening moves so that we're all on the same page and we know how today is going to go. So I have no intention to talk at you for an hour and a half and just hope that something I say sticks. This time is going to go by quickly and it's going to be interactive. We may even run out of time, and that's okay because I'm going to share this slide deck with you at the end of the presentation, and you'll have some time to engage the material and think about it after today. I'm a firm believer that each of us will get exactly what we need out of our time together today. And if you have a question and want to be recognized, please use the chat feature or raise your hand. If I miss it, Holly will jump in and let me know, so you can jump in at any time. We're all leaders here, so I'm not concerned about your ability to communicate. I'm not concerned about whether or not you'll be engaged, but what I want you to try to do today is to be vulnerable, to be thoughtful, to be open and honest about who you are in what I consider to be a relatively safe space. So I promise you that what you give is what you will get, and I hope that you'll all get something out of this. If something stands out to you as we go through the process, please take notes. So if you either take notes on the computer or on your phone, if that's what you choose to do, if you have a notepad and a pen close by, that's really great too. I want you to take notes because what you pick up on will be especially helpful when you go into the breakout rooms, so you know exactly what to discuss and what you're doing there. In the breakout rooms, I want you to take a moment in your first breakout room to really introduce yourself, because whoever you're partnered with in the first room is going to be who you work with throughout this whole process. And by the time this day is over, this hour and a half, you should get to know that person really well. And so I want to make sure that you're well acquainted when you go in the room for the first time. Make sure that everybody has an opportunity to speak. It doesn't mean that you both are going to speak the same amount. If you're like me and you like to talk a lot, then you might want to pull back a little bit, share, and then give the other person an opportunity to share before you share again. And I know I don't have to say this to this group, it goes without saying, but please, please, please show kindness and understanding to everyone in the room and commit to staying engaged. All right. So why am I sitting here before you today? if I went through my whole life story and what led me to this point in this moment, it would take the whole hour and a half that we have together. So I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to try to hit you with some of the high points. Holly already shared my bio, but I want to share that while I was in law school, I was in a clinical program that arranged for law students to get course credit for teaching social studies classes to inner city high school students. And because I'd always had a passion for education, I jumped at the opportunity to do this. I thought that it was a great idea and that it would be great for me to learn. Well, this set me on a course of studying education law and policy and interning in a literacy clinic that served one of the poorest communities in DC. It was a housing project called Sursum Cordes. And post graduation, I followed that up with a judicial clerkship, but I just felt this tug and this pull back to education. And so I jumped at the opportunity to go back to Georgetown and to serve as the assistant director for that program, which led me to a career working for DC Public Schools in law and policy. I learned so much through that experience and developed such a passion for the effectiveness of local governments and local school districts really meeting the needs of the people on the ground. But more importantly, it taught me that early childhood education is foundational for the outcomes of children. Working in the criminal justice system, there were so many young men that sat before me that could not read the charges against them. And so that is something that just rubbed me the wrong way and kind of almost pushed me away from law and told me like education is where it starts. You know, education is a determining factor for who's going to be sitting in that courtroom on the judge's side or on the side of the defendant. And so while I was with DC Public Schools, I spent a good part of my career grappling with the disparate impacts and the lack of access to early childhood education and what impact that had on marginalized people and marginalized communities. And when I moved to Florida, I was attracted to the idea that I could work for an organization that was supporting all of Florida's cities, all 411 of them, all the cities, towns, and villages, and still focus my energy on diversity and inclusion work. So that's where my long, winding road of getting here started to make sense for me. All the experiences that I had in DC prior to moving to Florida, I've been able to use here. And right now, I serve as a membership relations ambassador for the Florida League of Cities, traveling throughout the state, facilitating trainings on leadership, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and ethical behavior for elected officials, but also for municipal staff. I wholeheartedly believe that people learn best when they are actually doing something. And so, like I said before, I don't believe in talking at anybody for an hour, but I believe in facilitating discussions and active participation in the learning process by each of you so that while you engage each other, we all get to learn from each other. When we allow space for thoughtful reflection, we really get to grow. We get to move out of our comfort zones and think about life in a way that we normally wouldn't take the time to. And I believe that each and every person in this virtual room, your responsibility as leaders is to create those kinds of spaces for the people that work for you and work with you. It's to be mindful about how you can be more inclusive in your decision making. And a large piece of that is communication. So we're going to spend some time today talking about the effective communication of leaders. And with that being said, we're going to get ready to dive right in. So raise your hand either virtually or in real life if you're ready to go. Yep. Do I see the hands? All right. Awesome. So we're going to start with our first breakout room, and that is going to be, who are you? You're going to spend some time talking to each other about who you are, who you work for, where you currently live, what makes you a great fit for the current role that you're in, and what it means to you to be an inclusive leader. And if you don't, have the answer to that last one, it's okay, but I just want a baseline for what inclusive leadership means to you. When you come back, you're going to share out the answer to that last question. So I want you to get to know each other in your breakout rooms. But when you come back, you're going to just share your name and what inclusive leadership means to you. So I want you to be prepared to share out. So Holly, if we can get everyone into their breakout rooms, we're going to try to have 2 to a room. And if we have an uneven number, then we might have 1 room with 3.
So in just a moment, you guys should be familiar with this after our breakouts from our last training. You'll see the blue button pop up on your screen and just hit accept. Word of caution, you will get that 60-second window reminder. So I know that last time we did this, some of you were in mid-sentence, you'll recall. So when you see that countdown clock, just remember to pay attention to it. And with that, I'll open all the rooms.
Thank you, Holly. Awesome.
Okay, everyone is in their room, and I will set my timer for 5 minutes, and then I'll give them that 1 minute warning.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was seamless.
Absolutely.
And do we have to do a room? Oh, good. Okay, so we
We
have
do,
even.
yeah. So as
Awesome.
it works, I mean, we would have had 9, well, technically we were supposed to have 10 people. 2 people ended up just never showing up. I have no idea what happened to them. But then we did have one person that had a family emergency who had to withdraw, unfortunately. And then
Wow.
with Camilla, her participating virtually, and then she'll join in. I'm
Okay.
actually okay with it though. Like I'm
Yeah.
very okay with having a small group for the first time that we're doing it.
Yeah.
So that we can really learn. And so they're kind of like our guinea pigs, so to speak.
I love that. You'll appreciate that we're doing a virtual orientation for elected officials now. And it's like a 7-module course that they do like on Canvas. It's like, step by step, it's all fully automated. And the first group that we put through, we wanted to have like 10, but I think we got like 5. And it was really good because we got to work out the kinks. Unfortunately, like Jeannie was like the 6th person, so she got to see the kinks, but we were able to like
That's
work things
okay.
out. Yeah, so now we're rolling it out on a regular basis, and we're going to have some larger cohorts. But I love having the first one small, so you can kind of figure out what works and what doesn't work.
So you said that you're using Canvas as your
Mhm.
LMS?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, very cool. Are you
Yeah.
using, so is this replacing emo or is that still happening?
No, this is like a primer to emo. So this is like
That's
we're going to
exciting.
we're going to give you like a 30-minute overview of all the topics that would be like 3 hours long in emo, basically. And we tried to make sure that the information wasn't too duplicative, because you want people to still come to emo in person. So
Yeah.
at first, the tough part, getting Lynn to kind of scale back what we're actually going to share, but we were able to do it.
Good, good.
Mhm.
What was I going to ask you? I just realized that I set my timer for 5 minutes like you asked me to, but then do you want me to turn the warning on at 4 minutes then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That was good. Mhm.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like, wait a minute. No, I'm gonna keep my eye on my clock then. I'm so used to like 5 minutes and then you give your warning, but no,
Yeah.
so that we stay on track.
Yeah. That's so funny because I was in a presentation the other day where the breakout rooms, they told us 5 minutes, but then we got the 1 minute warning after the 5 minutes, and they were like, "Oh, we really have 6." Like we'll use every single second. So yeah, no, we don't want to do that.
Exactly.
Chris, where are you located? Oh, I see you're muted. Sorry. You're still muted.
There we go. I actually live in Tallahassee.
Okay.
I have been here my oldest is 41, so I could think I've been here for probably about 35 years.
Wow.
I grew up in Jacksonville and, previous marriage and all that kind of stuff. We ended up in Tallahassee and just been here. One of those kind of things.
Hey.
Lacey's has always had since I've been on board, which is 4 going on 5 years now, it's always been virtual. So when I started, they actually had an office down at Tampa, and then we determined there was no need because no one ever came to a physical office. Since we're statewide, what's the point of that? So we closed all of that, and I work out of my home. That's why you have a lovely background. And we've been virtual before COVID was virtual. So, it's just what we do.
Yeah, you were ahead of the curve. I love it.
Yeah, it was a matter of a board looking at it going, we can't afford to pay for board members to travel and stay in a hotel every other month or every month. It's just way, way expensive. There's no need for it. So we figured it out. But Tallahassee is where I am.
Very nice, very nice. I love to come up there and visit.
Yeah, it's a
One of the
lovely
things
area.
that's funny with Chris and I both being here is how many times have we been in person? Is it
2.
3 or 2? Yeah.
2 or 3 total. That's it. Yeah.
And I've been working with Lacey since before COVID, right? Like 10 days before COVID. So just over like, I guess 14, 15 months now. And even though we're both in Tallahassee, twice.
Right. Well, and the thing is, Shwanda, as Lacey grows, which if I have my way and we can make it happen, we can find funding and everything, we'll end up with people from all over the state working for Lacey. I mean, it's just what we're going to do. It'll never be, you have to move to Tallahassee to work for Lacey. And like
That's
right now, we have a halftime person, Wendy, who lives down over on the West Coast. And so we'll work. That's just how we're going to evolve. There's no need for a physical office right now. So.
I love the forward thinking. All right, welcome back, ladies. Welcome back. I'm so glad that I can say ladies, it's girl power. All right. Welcome back. I think we got everybody back. Is that correct, Holly? All right, very good. So who wants to be the brave soul to go first?
I want to say I enjoyed, Katie and I interviewed each other. So that we could have conversation. I enjoyed talking to Katie.
Same
To
here,
know
Miss
that-
Sharon.
To know that she works for the 4Cs. They have over 1,000 kids within their organization that they serve. I think that's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
She's a fit for the role because she wants to ensure that quality is the standard that's used to deliver services to the kids whom they serve. And her inclusiveness is using her leadership to do what needs to be done.
All right, so inclusive leadership is using your leadership skills to do what needs to be done. All right.
Miss Sharon had a great point though. She said that when she's working with people, she doesn't look at the people themselves, she looks at their talents. And she finds ways to use their talents and how she can get these people to interact with each other for the best results, which I thought was really nice.
Yes, Miss Sharon, that is wisdom. I
Mhm,
love it.
yes.
All right, and Katie, did you want to share about her? Anything else about her?
Just that she's working in an inner city preschool with an EHS program, and she's convinced me already that she's the person to lead them to greatness. She's already last night she presented it was I didn't catch Miss Sharon, was it the 5-year plan or a 5-year
Yes.
report? And she's going to get it done.
Love it. I love it. That's awesome. All right, Terry, you are who I'm seeing next in my cubes. Is it okay for you to share now? I know you said you're still in the classroom.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. I interviewed Judy. She lives in East Orange. She works in a small pre-K. No, I'm sorry, East Orange. I'm thinking about
East Braden.
New Jersey. I'm sorry.
I was like, that sounds like New Jersey.
I know.
East Bradenton.
Okay.
And she is a part-time VPK mentor, director of a center. She has years of leadership experience, and she gained most of her experience with Girl Scouts. That's where she really started, because Girl Scouts opened doors for her, helped build her self-esteem. So she's not fearful of anything. She's been in several leadership roles, and we were just ending when she talked about her inclusiveness, and I shared mine, and she said that I was along the same lines of what she was going to say, and then it went out. So
Okay.
okay.
What did you share? You can speak for both of you.
I don't remember. No.
I gotta go.
Judith, do you want to say what I said?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
Terry said that she's from Palm Beach County. She works in Palm Beach County public school system in the Head Start organization. She feels that she's a great fit because she feels believe in developing, the whole person, not just part of them. And her idea on inclusive leadership is she looks at the team, assesses them, and through observation, and she believes everyone has a part to play, and they all need to we need to all recognize each other's talents and wisdom and share it. And I think that's about it right there.
And I close with saying that even after you're, say, as a leader, you identify that person's strength, even if that person doesn't feel comfortable sharing it or have gotten pushback from others in the past, it's my role to motivate and still encourage them to share.
I love it. That's good stuff. All right, Cammie, I see you next.
Sure. So my partner was Jenny. Jenny is located in St. Petersburg, Florida. Her employer, she serves as a director of a learning center, but plans on, she has some exciting things going on. So she's in transition into another role with the University of South Florida and maybe into finishing up her second master's, and just have some really exciting things going on. We didn't really talk about what makes us a great fit for our current role. And I was also under the impression that we had to speak as individuals on what inclusive leadership means to us as individually. So inclusive leadership to me, when I hear that term, I often think of that we can't really leverage diversity as an asset in any space until we are aware of our own biases and preconceived notions. So I believe inclusive leadership is first being aware of your own biases and preconceived notions, and then actively working to dismantle those preconceived notions, and also seeking out different perspectives to enhance your decision making.
Absolutely. Well done, Kimmy. Well done. And yes, you were under the right impression. You were supposed to tell your own, but that's all right. I'm flexible and adaptable, so I'm going with it. All right, so let's hear from you, Jenny.
Well, I interviewed Cammie, and she originally started in Head Start, but she now does early literacy, like interventions for pre-K through the 3rd grade, which I love. And
You went out.
And child coming in here.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
I took a course in my class last fall on leadership, and one of the things that I was talking about as inclusive leadership is that when I took over my center years ago, and I had written the original vision for the center, that I kind of had written the whole thing myself, and here it is, 10, 15 years later, and going forward, having people with me for the last 10 or 15 years, we were going to like reevaluate and rewrite where we wanted to go next. And then like this time being able to discuss it with the people that work for me, and, getting their thoughts and opinions and everything, and including them into, having like an ownership, like a stake in where we wanted to take this versus me basically just deciding everything.
Right. So that's the inclusive piece, and that's important.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing. So Dominique, I see you next.
Hi.
Hello.
I was with Deborah, and I love her. Her poor thing, her mic on her computer always like cuts in and out, so it took a minute for us to even get able to talk, and then we were like really fast. Deborah worked for Head Start. She lives in Orlando. She's worked in Seminole County, all the counties pretty much. She really wants to be she thinks she's a great fit for her current role because she's a strong advocate for early childhood, which I think is great. And then I guess I'll let her talk about her inclusive leadership part. And my inclusive leadership part to me is equality, like equalness. I was telling her I work for Head Start. I work on the south side of St. Pete. I work with a lot of low-income families, and that's really important to me. I think that all the children, deserve the opportunity as any other child, because not everyone's life looks the same. So I think it's important for us to really advocate for them and be a strong leader, and know that you may come in with some biases. You may learn that you have biases. You may learn that you don't have biases, and learn how you're going to handle those biases when you're in the classroom or as a leader.
I love that. So the south side is the south side wherever you are, huh? Doesn't change. All right. Okay. And I think that hopefully you don't cut out, Deborah, but I think you're last but not least. Am I right about that?
Yes, and I have a new computer, so I hope it doesn't do it either.
Okay, good.
So I interviewed, I was with Dominique, and I love this young lady too. She's got so much passion and so much love. So so early in her career, I can see big things happening for her. She's a teacher, lead teacher for the Pinellas County Head Start, and she has a lot of passion to become a strong leader. Okay, let me see. Okay, that's about, she thinks this is a great fit because she wants to be a strong, she wants to be help with her staff, with her teachers. Since she just got this lead teacher position, she thinks this is really what will help her with being a strong leader. My individual feeling for inclusive leadership means that we have such strong people in our field. I've learned that everyone has gifts and strengths that we need to utilize. Are you still there?
I am, I'm listening.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. So I felt like that is where I've been so successful with empowering our teachers and giving them the self-esteem that they need to be able to move forward and give that love to the children, and then including the children with their individual strengths and making sure that all of our children have everything they need to give a firm foundation for learning.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that, Deborah. I'm so glad you were able to share and you didn't cut out.
Thank
So,
you.
so that was a really feel good moment, because from all of your shares, I recognize that you all are clear on what inclusive leadership means to you. And what we're going to do today is just add some extra tools to your toolkit so that you can continue to be strong, inclusive leaders. So now I'm going to shift gears a little bit. That was a feel good moment, but this moment right here may not feel so good. So trigger warning, we're going to talk about death. And I want to tell you the significance of why I'm here today. When Holly asked me to speak, she had no idea that I had several years of experience studying and supporting education. She did not know that about me. And when she learned that about me, she was floored. She knows that I usually present trainings on diversity and equity, as well as inclusive leadership. But much of what I've learned about leadership came from witnessing supervisors get it very wrong over the last 20 years. So today I'm going to share my most devastating story of this, and I hope that it will highlight my sincerity and my passion for the work that you all do. I dedicate today's presentation to my dearly departed friend, Ms. Heath. For over 30 years, Ms. Heath was a pre-K3 teacher for DC Public Schools. She loved her job. She loved those little people. She'd seen many principals come and go in her 30 years, and she learned a lot from each of them. But now she was dealing with a new principal, which would unfortunately be her last. As she was winding down in her career and beginning to slow down, it seemed like everything was speeding up around Ms. Heath, and she was trying to keep up. Standardized testing was changing, technology was being incorporated more and more into her daily work, but at the core of it, the business of getting little people ready for grade school had not changed much over the 30 years, and this was the part that Ms. Heath loved. This was the part that kept her showing up every day. I met her when I was assigned to the elementary school where she had been teaching for about 10 years or so as a program coordinator for their after-school program. The principal, who had only spent a few years in the classroom before beginning her leadership trajectory as a VP and then a principal, felt that young, energetic teachers had more to offer than veterans who had the wisdom and experience that only years could bring. She valued technological skills and degrees and that sort of thing over the classroom management and results that seasoned teachers brought. So when we talked about earlier about valuing everybody on your team and what they brought to the table, she didn't have that vision. So she was on a mission, and that was to get Miss Heath and all those other old heads out of her school, not their school, but her school. When I went around the school canvassing teachers to sign up to work in my after school program, Ms. Heath jumped on it right away. She wanted to be the one to work with her babies in the evenings to reinforce what they had learned during the school day so there would be continuity, and I really appreciated that. She was a joy to watch. She might have moved slowly, but she kept those students in line, and I never had to worry about pre-K3 because they were with their teacher and they knew what they needed to do in the evenings. And as the school year went on, I witnessed the new principal just pressing on Miss Heath, always extra hard on her, always criticizing everything she did. And she did that with a lot of the teachers. She was tyrannical in her leadership. And I decided to leave that school placement before the end of the school year. I tried to make it to the end of the school year, but by April, I had had enough. And when an opportunity came to go work in central office for DC Public Schools to escape her leadership, I left. This constant antagonizing got so bad that Ms. Heath also applied to work in another school setting for the following school year. She was going to go to a traditional daycare center, and she was setting her affairs in order to finally retire from the district after 30 plus years, even though she wasn't ready to stop teaching. But in April, right before that school year came to a close, a week after I left the school to go to central office, after a particularly rough week with the principal, Ms. Heath had a heart attack right there on the gymnasium floor in front of her babies during the after school program that I used to run. And she died right there in front of the children. We were devastated. But even more so, we were enraged and we were mad at ourselves because we knew that while we could not directly link Ms. Heath's heart attack to the principal, that wouldn't necessarily be fair. We knew that the extra pressure that she was facing daily had an impact on her health. And we blamed ourselves for not advocating more on her behalf or defending her against the principal when she was being attacked. We were all making our plans to leave, but we didn't think about what we were leaving behind. And we all watched a teacher who had thrived for 30 years, wiping snot from little noses, drying tears from little eyes, teaching ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, literally die doing what she loved for a poor leader. Under that principal's leadership, many people left that school after me, and they left injured emotionally and injured professionally, and some even injured physically. And after 5 years of this, the district finally let her go. But what happened in this case, and in so many cases, is that leaders are not really taught that every single person on your team has value and can be an asset to your overall success. So hearing so many of you say that just warmed my heart because you are ahead of the curve. You understand that every single person that comes to work for you and with you has value. Leaders are often taught that a good employee looks like this. They fit into this box. And if you have somebody that doesn't fit into that paradigm, then there are problems to be dealt with. But today we're going to spend some time looking at different styles of leadership, different styles of communication, seeing how these different things can be an asset to your team so that no matter what category your employees fall into, they have value and they deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, and you have the tools to do that. Leadership is not about knowing how to do the work. All of you know how to do what your employees are doing. You've probably done it before, but it's about learning how to support, how to train, and how to protect the people that are doing the work for you. So if you don't remember anything I say today, remember this, and many of you already know this. A great leader cultivates an environment where their team can flourish and grow. If someone under your leadership has all the credentials, all the knowledge, experience, and skills to do the job, but they're failing, that's not a reflection on them, that's a reflection on you. You have a responsibility to put the supports in place for that person to thrive or to take the appropriate steps to sever the employment relationship if success is not possible. But if you do neither, and you watch them struggle or languish or hurt the other people on your team and ruin the team dynamic for an extended period of time, then you have fallen short in your leadership. And with power comes responsibility. So I want to make sure that we just remember Ms. Heath's legacy today. I keep her legacy alive by telling this story to leaders so that they understand the true real life impact that poor leadership can have on employees. So before we move on, I just want us to take a moment to breathe collectively, to just process that a little bit, to inhale and exhale. And then we're going to move to discussing leadership styles. So we're going to talk about 4 traditional leadership styles today. And it's important to share what I just did before discussing leadership styles, because I want you to understand that none of these styles are necessarily wrong or right, but it's learning how to incorporate all of the different styles into your leadership that can help you to identify leadership in those that work for you and help you to be the very best leader that you can possibly be. This is how we get to the place of inclusive leadership. So the first one I'm going to talk about is autocratic, authoritative style leadership. And as I'm going through these leadership styles, if these things resonate with you, if you hear it, you say, I think this is the kind of leader I am. Write down the name of the leadership style, because I want you to spend some time working with it and thinking about it in your breakout room. So this leadership style is the typical leadership style that you'll see for most people running Fortune 500 companies. Often, if you think about cult leaders, if you think about people that are seen as effective, powerful leaders, it's this style. It's the follow my lead, do as I say, I will lead us to greatness. This leader typically believes that they're the smartest person in the room. And so they may pretend to engage with those that work with and for them, but they believe they're going to make the decisions ultimately. They're the one that knows what's best for everybody. They'll make the decisions with very little input from the team or without really considering the input from the team. And they can be confident leaders, okay? So they're the kind of leaders that inspire people and make them want to follow. They're what you call visionaries. But the downfall with this style of leadership is that these leaders don't tend to think about succession planning. So they don't think about who's coming after them. They don't think about seeing leadership qualities in those that work for them and developing them. They see themselves as the end all be all. And that can be really tricky. So if you think that you lead from an autocratic / authoritative style, it's okay. We're gonna learn some tools, but be honest with yourself today, be vulnerable, and be willing to write down on your notes or type in your notes that this is typically my leadership style, okay? The next style that I've seen a lot working with startups is this pace setting style. So this is the do as I do if you want to be successful. Like I got here because of my hard work. You got to be willing to keep up, work, no play. This is the kind of leader that sets the bar high and pushes their team members to run hard and run fast to the finish line because of what, mission-oriented work, which is the work we do, tends to work like this because we're like, we have a mission, we're going to eradicate racism in America by 2020, whatever. And so we're working hard and we're going fast and we're doing everything that we can think of to do. But the problem with this is that the leader will model work-life imbalance. And so the employees feel like they have to keep up with this pace of work, and it tends to create a churn and burn environment where people don't stay. So if you have a project, say you're opening up a new center, and you need to be able to work like this for the next 6 months so that you can get this center up and off the ground, that's fine. But at the end of that project, it's time to reevaluate and reset the pace for how your employees are going to work, because this kind of pace setting style leadership is not sustainable. And you will have constant turnover if this is the way that you choose to lead for an extended period of time. The next style is democratic / coaching style. Now, when I read these characteristics, you're probably going to think, she ideally thinks this is the best type of leadership. So everything that I'm going to describe here, you're probably going to automatically assume that I think that. I don't necessarily think that democratic coaching style is better than the other leadership styles. I think that it's the style that you need to incorporate into the other leadership styles. So if you have a natural inclination to lead in those other ways, if you can find ways to weave in democratic coaching style into your leadership, then it can help you to be a more effective leader. So this is asking your team, what do you think and how can I help? Sharing information with your team as it's appropriate so that they can really understand that they have some say-so in their work and their responsibilities. Seeking out their opinion in an inclusive way that's authentic, not just performative for the sake of saying that you included them, but actually considering what they have to say. And then giving them room to innovate, making sure that they know that it's a safe space, that if they try something and it doesn't work out, you're not going to berate them, but they have real latitude to be able to try new things and implement new ways of getting things done. This is the leadership style that I think can be incorporated into all the others. And finally, my favorite, the laissez-faire style of leadership. This is do what you want. So this kind of leader is known to hire the most quality employees that they know they're going to be able to hit the ground running. I'm going to give them a project, they can handle it. Like, I just want to surround myself with high performing people so that I don't have to micromanage them. They can report to me and I go report to the higher ups, and I know that the work is going to get done. The problem with this leadership style is that while you may have very high performing people that can manage the work, as a team, they'll still need to be managed. And if you're this kind of leader, you can eventually appear as if you're just aloof and you're uninvolved with the dynamics happening on the team. So people that are very high performing, that tend to think that they are experts on what they're doing, don't always work well with other people. And it takes a good, strong leader to be able to bring them together, to be able to resolve any conflicts that they're having as it pertains to the workflow, or who's depending on who for what, or who's waiting on who for what. You have to be able to be hands-on in the actual leadership of the team, even if you don't need to be hands-on in the work. I hope that makes sense. And what happens with a leader like this is that the whole team will kind of tend to just go in the wrong direction because the actual people of the team aren't being managed. And so that's where it gets tricky. It's okay to have high performing people and to not be a micromanager of the work, but you're going to have to be very clear about what's happening with the team dynamics and manage the team. So we're going to go into our next breakout, and I want you to just think about which one of those styles best describes you. And this is our first opportunity to be vulnerable. If we see ourselves as any one of those other leadership styles outside of the coaching and democratic leadership style, it's okay to say that. So think about the style that best describes the way you've led up until this point. And then I want you to share like what you enjoy about leadership. Like, what is it about leadership that you enjoy that would cause you to lead that way? And then think of one way that you can incorporate a different kind of leadership style into yours. So if you say, I'm a democratic, leader, like I give everybody a voice, I do this, what are some of the other leadership styles that you maybe could pull from or that you maybe could draw from? Okay, so I just want you to think about this. And you don't have to come back and answer all these questions. I just want to give you some primers for what you're going to discuss about leadership when you go back to your partner in your breakout room. So thinking about the leadership style that describes you and what you enjoy about leadership, those are most important. Okay. So Holly, let's send them away.
All right, they are all in their rooms and I have pressed start on the timer.
Awesome. And we haven't lost anybody, right?
We have not lost anybody.
Okay, good. Yes, Steve Jobs, definitely. Definitely. There is this new documentary out. Oh my gosh, which streaming platform was it? But it was about WeWork. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it was this startup called WeWork that it's a fascinating story. But when I think about an autocratic, authoritative leader, I think about their CEO because he was like this like super inspirational leader. He got all these people galvanized to like change their life in every kind of way to work with him. And he ended up ruining a lot of people's lives because he was not an inclusive leader. He did not listen to his people. And he ended up really throwing his people under the bus at the end. Like he walked away from the company with like $1 billion and like the rest of his people were just kind of like out there in the wind. It was sad.
I can totally see like in our work with city leaders, I have definitely seen that approach. And even like with like and I know you said the thing about like succession planning, kind of like how does that like feed into it and all of that. But I definitely have seen it just with in terms of how then it plays out with elections.
Yep.
I see it less with city managers, but there have been a couple that, and we're not naming any names because we're 100% recording. It's been a really interesting journey to have gotten to know some elected officials and city managers stepping away. And then kind of like, as I've come back in now as a vendor with, because I mean, I have a handful of city clients and coming back now in as a vendor where I'm working directly with like a department lead as opposed to a manager or a mayor or an elected official. It's and like hearing the way that things are taught or run and kind of now like placing this, it's very interesting. Very interesting.
Well,
go ahead, Chris.
As I'm listening to it, and this is great for me to listen to, I'm thinking about my 3 employees I have, and I think the key to this is because I see myself as the last 2, but it's a slippery slope. You can be doing what you think you're doing and all, and then before you know it, things start edging in and you need to go back and say, okay, wait a minute,
Yep.
Obviously I hire very talented people, contract and all, but I think that's part of what Holly and I, and then Wendy and I will have to work on is how to keep that balance between it, because you want people to go and do their things. They're experts. I've always been comfortable hiring experts who know more than I do field, but then you got to bring them back in and keep it true to the mission and the purpose and the vision, but allow room for the vision to grow, so I don't think it's a black and white, or I don't want to use those 2 words, but a either or. I think it is a mix. And you've always got to be on top of it and kind of being aware of changes, or maybe you're going too far this way and you need to go back this way. It's
exactly right. That's why I love laissez-faire the best, because I do think that high performing people should have space to do their job the way they want to do them. But you have to have like those regular check-ins and rein them in when they're going too far, because it can get really messy if you just kind of like let people do their thing and just hope that it works out.
Well, it's also a trust, that's part of what, I've got Holly right here, but she has to be comfortable to tell me, well, I think this, and I got to be comfortable to say this. And there's a high trust level that you have to have.
There is. I know in that thing, I'm a pace setter, and I know that I am, and I don't want to be, So I'm trying to adopt a pace setter in that, like, the middle, the third one that you
The
talked about.
coaching, yeah.
And so what I discovered, I'm not super great or super interested in managing people. I love managing projects, but I have an employee for my business, and my favorite thing with her is doing the coaching. And so I feel like I'm and even when I worked at the Sunglass Hut, which was like ages ago, and I managed a team, I loved doing that part of it. I think the interesting part, and I'm speaking directly from my experience, even with the league, is when you're in a business and then you become a leader from within. That there's a whole bunch of other dynamics in that scenario, right? Especially if you're a pace setter and then like you might be going up. A lot of stuff convoluted in that. But what I've discovered is I like the types of workers or the types of employees or communication styles that I work best with. Like I want to be more of that coach, but I know my natural inclination is to be a pace setter. And so learning to lead, like that's like my work mode, but learning to lead is a little bit different. Ooh, I have to close the room for that.
No, that's so on point. Everything you're saying is exactly accurate. That's the kind of grappling I want them to be doing with each other.
Yeah. There are times, it's funny when you were talking about like being the smartest person in the room, like they think that they're the smartest person in the room. That's interesting. Like I've definitely been around those people who think they're the smartest person in the room, and I love to just watch how they then interact. Right? Like that.
Whenever I say that, one, people automatically think of the person that they know falls into this category, because we all know those people.
They should be back to us in about 20 seconds.
Okay.
The laissez-faire, I almost thought of our old executive director, right?
Totally. Especially at the time when I came in, when he's at the end of his career, that was totally him.
100%. He like walked in, I'm like, hey, what you doing? He's like, I'm going to get a massage, like all the things. He was so hands-off at the end of his career.
Right. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, ladies. Welcome back. Welcome back.
How many of you were in the middle of a sentence?
Well, we kept talking.
Always.
We knew
It happened.
We knew we were going, but we want to keep talking.
I love that. I love that you were engaged. So we're not going to share out about what you discussed. We spent a lot of time while you were in the room grappling with the different leadership styles and how they relate to us. So we hope that you did the same and that you're thinking about it in preparation for the work we're going to do with our personal leadership story. But we're going to jump into communication styles. So I'm going to talk to you about 4 communication styles today. And unlike the leadership styles, there is a communication style that I think is most effective for a strong leader, but that's just my conjecture, my opinion. You may disagree. You may hear the styles and say, this woman doesn't know what she's talking about. And if you feel that way when I'm done, that's okay. But I implore you to think about how the communication style, the last one we're going to discuss, is really what goals should be or where you should be trying to get to as a leader if you're not already there. So the first style is the passive. Everybody knows somebody who's passive. Could be us. Indirect, inhibited, these are the people that we often refer to as shy. Sometimes we even refer to them as introverts, but really they're just the people that want to go with the flow. They don't want any drama, like however you feel, that's fine. We'll go with what you want. These are the folks that are not going to push back. Now, I'm going to tell you that people like this are a joy to have on your team because they end up usually being the least amount of drama. The problem is that people like this often have a lot to share, but won't share, and they'll hold back because they don't want to have to deal with conflict. So you have to figure out ways to create safe space for folks that fall in this passive category to really share what they're feeling and what their needs are and what their goals are so that they can have their needs met instead of always putting everybody else over themselves or always taking the blame where it doesn't belong. Then you have your passive aggressive folks, and this is usually a progression. After somebody gets fed up with being passive for a certain amount of time, they may find themselves here in this passive aggressive space. So these are the folks on your team that, they'll be the first to say they're a team player, but if we're not going with their idea, they're not really happy about it, and they're not going to be as easy to work with as they possibly could be. So they're going to be the ones that drop little jabs or little tidbits, making it clear that their needs aren't being met and that they don't feel like they're being heard. When you are leading a passive aggressive person, if you can figure out how to pick up on those little tidbits that they'll drop or those little jabs and really create a space where they feel like they have a voice, even if it's off to the side, not in front of the whole group, then you're going to get the highest performance out of this person, because all they want is to stop feeling like they're being walked all over. This is like their first step to actually having a voice, to finding their voice, to figuring out how to make it known what they need after some period of time of not doing that. And all of these, I would say, are trauma responses. Whether it is that their voice was taken away from them when they were a child, it could be, I've worked with people who are passive aggressive because they were in abusive marriages and their voice was taken away in those marriages, but they decided that they never want to be walked on again. So they're going to do these things to try to protect themselves from feeling like they are being taken advantage of at work. And sometimes it turns into just straight out aggressive. So that person on your team that has no problem saying how they feel all the time will say it sometimes at the most inappropriate times, like in front of the parents and things like that. The person who is just like always, jumping up to make sure that they're heard and that what they think should happen. Those people on your team can also be an asset, because your aggressive folks are going to be the folks that will oftentimes give you the pulse of the team. So that passive aggressive person might go to the aggressive person and they might bicker and they might complain, and the aggressive person is going to come and they're going to say exactly what other folks are thinking. And if you can put your ego aside and listen to what they have to say and create parameters for a healthy conflict and discussion, then you can get a lot of information and learn what you need to manage the team from your aggressive folks. But this is where I think as leaders, we should aspire to go. Assertive communication is about understanding and expressing that everybody on your team has needs and that everybody can be heard, and we can do our very best to try to meet those needs and hear the voice of everybody. It's about being direct, expressive, confident about what you're saying, but also inclusive and empathetic. So really listening and caring about what the other people on your team have to share. And, I believe, like I said, that passive aggressive and aggressive communication styles are trauma responses. And so it's important to be able to see those things in your team, see what triggers them, see what brings that out in them, and try to do things to mitigate that. So when you go into your breakout rooms this time around, you're not going to be necessarily talking about which one of those categories you fit into now, because what we're trying to do is all move to the place of being assertive communicators. But I want you to think about what your communication strengths are now and what might be some areas for growth. Because at the end of the day, the whole goal of this is to think about how we communicate effectively as leaders. So I want you to finally think, if you get around to it, because I know you all are having good, robust conversation, but if you get around to it, think about what the importance of a leader in learning how to effectively communicate with all types is. What is the importance of learning how to draw things out of that passive person? What is the importance of setting proper parameters for that aggressive person to be able to express? I want you to spend some time thinking about that if you can. But the most important part of the exercise is, what are my communication strengths and what are my growth areas? I want you to be able to identify that, okay? So Holly?
Shwanda, I wanted to see, Cammie, do you have a question? I see that your hand is raised.
I do, but I don't know if this is the best time to ask the question. It's about the difference between, and I don't know if we were going to get to that after our conversation.
Go ahead, Cammie.
Okay, so my question is, something that I struggle with is the difference between being aggressive and assertive, particularly being a woman of color, more particularly being a Black woman. So can you give some pointers? Because sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm being assertive, but it may be misconstrued as aggressive. So can you talk a little bit more about
I totally get that. Cammie, what I found is that the biggest piece of separating assertive communication from aggressive communication is that typically aggressive communication tends to be more emotional, right? So if you can step back and spend some time thinking and really processing so that you can have clear and concise, direct statements when you have to say something, that is the space in which it moves from being aggressive to assertive. I think, like I said, I believe that aggressive communication can be a trauma response. And as a Black woman, I totally understand how a lot of what we experience in the workplace produces trauma responses, right? And so it's really easy to fall into that category of responding instead of being reflective before we take time to craft our statements. And so I just think that's the difference. Being able to be direct without emotion, without anger, but really being able to say what needs to be said in a thoughtful, reflective way kind of moves you from that space of aggressive to assertive. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I'm a fan of write that email out and don't send it. Take the time to really like get your thoughts down and make sure that you can organize them in a clear and concise, direct way without having to say what your first thought was. Sharon, I see your hand.
May I just add one thing that I've
Please.
learned in my career? I've learned to ask more questions in
Yeah,
situations as opposed to making what I call declarative statements.
very good. Yep, that is a
Okay.
good one. Mm-hmm. Ask all the questions.
So much. Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sharon, and thanks for the question, Kami. So we're going to go into our breakout rooms. We're talking about communication strengths and growth areas.
And they are all in their rooms now.
I totally
and
question.
timer for 4 minutes. So
Yes, this one's short.
there we go. Started.
Holly, did the, I forget which one it was, the woman who said she had to step out and give someone a hug, did she ever come back?
He did.
Okay.
Okay.
So because, you know, we have the opportunity now, I want to tell a story about knowing, like, I tend to be incredibly assertive and I try very, very hard to keep tabs on when it might come across as aggressive. I love that you said about emotional. And I love that when I'm in a moment that I want to be incredibly assertive, but I know where it's stemming from and I can feel myself angry typing, right? Like that's my moment of a, woo, I need to take a step back. And I had a really great experience, and I'm going to talk about you, Chris. I had a really great experience where I was very frustrated. I was flabbergasted that the instructions that I thought were incredibly clear were not being followed. And I just didn't get it. Like, I totally did not understand. And I felt like my response was angry typing an email. And when I realized I was angry typing, I like took a step back and I said, Chris, can I talk to you? Like I need, and it wasn't directed towards Chris, but it was like, I need a safe outlet because I know that if I send this email, like it's going to be aggressive. Like I need to take a step back. I need to breathe. But I knew that, again, that trust, that safe space, and working with a team, that she is the leader, that is more that last two that we talked about before. I had the opportunity to come to her and say, I'm very frustrated. I'm very like how do I handle this? Right? Like, and so I loved what you just said. Like, there is that fine line between aggressive and assertive. And I think as women, we really experience that, like with all those memes that we see, like, oh, you're bossy. Like, no, you're assertive. Or you're this, no, you're this.
It's funny that you say that, because the piece that I think that really shifts us from aggressive to assertive is if we are giving a communication to only have our needs met without considering what's happening on the other side, we're still in that aggressive space. We're in that assertive space where we could say, this is a collective goal. These things are kind of a barrier to that goal being met. Like, let's talk about how we get to where we're trying to go. That's the difference, you know? So it's like that reactive versus that reflective communication.
Well, and part of Holly hasn't experienced it because she hasn't been around the board, but previous to this year, there's some challenges on the board and my previous life. And my problem is I turn red. I think I'm in control and I'm being assertive, but the emotion of what's going on, I do not have control over the redness that happens. And it makes it real obvious to everybody that I'm feeling a bit anxious, and it's hard when your body language shows something else that you did not mean to show. You're trying to get your words right. You're trying to be assertive or positive, whatever, but this whole body language thing happens. And I had a chair once who sat beside me and he said, uncross your arms. We know when you cross your arms, you're angry. And it was like, and for the rest of my time with him, it was a thing. I couldn't cross my arms. You know?
Oh, no.
But body
Did he
language
mean
is
that, though?
important.
Was he right about that body language?
No, sometimes it was a matter of I needed to sit back because I tend to want to get involved. I needed to sit back and let the board talk, and I needed to stay out of this. I was just sitting back and letting them take it. And I didn't think that was aggressive. I didn't think that was, but that's how he perceived it. So, you know, but there was other issues between him and I, you know, so it was all good. But yeah, that whole blush thing I do just ruins anything I could try to do. I'm not aggressive. I'm not going after you, you know. But
So Chris, I just wanted to remind you that we are recording.
I know.
and
I know. I kind of shaped my words. So
okay, I just wanted to make sure that you feel comfortable, and I just wanted to give you that gentle reminder.
I'm very open about myself. I don't hide a lot of stuff. So it's
No, I've definitely experienced that. We are about 20 seconds away from them all coming back, and I'm guessing they're all going to be in mid-sentence again.
So Chris,
I love the red. My eyes get big. Like when I'm like shifting, I'm like that's what I'm like. Hold back.
Several jobs ago, I used to laugh. I needed to wear a turtleneck all the time, you know, and I have no poker face. I could not play poker with anybody because it's real obvious what I'm doing. So.
Hi, Chris.
Hi there. How you doing, Judy?
Good, how are you?
Back, Judy.
Doing great.
Welcome back. All right, so I'm sure that you had some rich conversation just the way that we did in our little breakout room here. So the importance of understanding communication styles, like I've said, and like you all have said, is to value every single person on your team and the way they communicate and what they can contribute through that communication. But I want you to accept, and if you refute it, feel free to let me know, but I want you to accept that even though communicating assertively may be uncomfortable for you, it is the goal. It's a way that we effectively communicate when we're leading a team. So we can have different communication styles in a successful workplace as long as we have an assertive leader that can guide and direct everybody. And I think that it goes without saying that we definitely have some assertive leaders here on this call. So I wanted to provide you with a little tool, and you'll have this to look back at when I give you my slide deck. It's a woman named Luana Harris who does diversity and equity training. She came up with this tool called Commit, and each of these bubbles stands for a letter in the word commit. And I thought that this was a great tool that we could use in effective communication. If we're trying to figure out where to start with this assertive communication, these bubbles give us a great starting ground. So committing to courageous action. Opening your eyes and ears. That means hearing the things that people are not necessarily saying, but being able to see the dynamics on your team that need to be addressed. So opening your eyes and ears. Moving beyond lip service. When you communicate with people and you make it a two-way street and you want to make the communication inclusive, they have to actually see you put what they say to work. So like I said, even if you don't do exactly what they want you to do, they need to see you grappling with it. They need you to see you considering it so that they know that they actually have a real voice in the team. It can't be performative. You need to make room for controversy and conflict. So with that aggressive person, even if it means that your communication with them has to come out of the team dynamic, you have to pull them to the side, you have to have one-on-ones with them, you have to make room for that controversy and conflict in order for the team to grow and to invite new perspectives. And this green bubble that seems to be the hardest for most people is to tell the truth even when it hurts. I heard a quote the other day that says that kindness is about thoughtful honesty, right? So you can be nice, and nice makes people feel good. But to truly be kind, you have to be honest with folks in a thoughtful way, doing as little damage as possible. And so I want you to think about that one, telling the truth even when it hurts, when you think about leading your team. And so I'm actually going to skip over the next breakout because I want us to get into our personal leadership stories. That is a tool that you're going to be taking away today, and I want to make sure that we have time to work on them. So what is a personal leadership story? What are we talking about here? It's a clear and concise statement of your strengths, your challenges, your life experiences, and future goals that will empower you to effectively network and communicate with colleagues and staff in your current role. So I know Holly, as a communications person, you'll appreciate this. This is your elevator pitch. You are the CEO of you. When you walk into a space, you've got to be able to tell people in a short period of time who you are, what you're about, and where you want to go in life. And this is a tool to help you get there. So what are the components of it? We have three clear components to your personal leadership story. It's your present. Who are you now? That's how we started today. Who are you now? What are you doing? What do you know based on what you've experienced? What makes you special? Why will I remember you when you leave this space? Then you want to bring in some of your past. What have you experienced in life to develop your character? What makes you who you are? How did you end up being in the space that you're in now? What was your motivator? For me, it was a first grade teacher. What was that thing that really influenced the person that you are today? And then it's your future. Are you in school? Are you working on your doctorate? Or do you have goals and aspirations for opening your own center one day? What are the goals and aspirations and credentials that you are currently trying to acquire for the foreseeable future? So those are the three clear components of your personal leadership story: your present, your past, and where you want to go with it in the future. You want your personal leadership story to be durable and flexible, meaning that you got to be willing to change. As you grow in your field, as you grow in your career, you should have these core basic things about who you are, these core characteristics about who you are, but the story should be able to shift and change depending on who you're talking to. Your audience won't always be the same. So the way that you will share about who you are in a leadership training, in a breakout session, will be different from how you explain it to a potential future employer. But you got to be able to move and flow and make sure that your story can change that way. It has to be tangible and adaptable. So I like the idea of having it written down, looking at it on a regular basis, coming back to it, making updates and changes, so that as you use it in different settings, you can think about ways in which to make changes. And then finally, it has to be you. It has to be your real life story, because I think that each of you, I can just tell by listening to the things you're saying that you have a story to tell, right? So if you tell your story is going to be authentic. It's going to be inspiring. It's going to be the thing that makes people remember who you are when you leave a space. So we're going to spend the rest of the time we have together today working on our personal leadership stories. And in order to help us facilitate doing that, in our first breakout, it's going to be rapid fire breakout. So these are going to be like 3 minutes, Holly. And the first one, you're going to share one memory or experience from your past that has directly influenced your leadership style. I'll share mine really quickly to give you an idea. When I was in first grade, I had a teacher named Miss Johnson that I will never forget, whose whole goal for first graders was to focus on literacy. She believed that literacy was a foundation to all learning, that if she could get her first graders reading on a higher grade level, second or third grade level, by the time they left her class, then they were going to be set up for success in their careers. And when I saw Miss Johnson again, the year that I graduated from law school, and I told Miss Johnson that I just graduated from law school, she cried. And she started telling me stories about so many of her former students that told her about how their experience in learning how to read and articulate their thoughts and really comprehend what they were reading and share it back out to adults impacted the way that they moved through their academic career and what they ultimately did with their lives. That is a memory from my past that influences who I am today. So I want you to think about it. Was it somebody that was influential? Was it an experience that you had as a child or even as a student or even in your career? What is one memory from your past that has directly influenced the way that you lead today? So we're going to go into those rooms, just 3 minutes. Think on your feet. Hopefully the work that you did on your worksheets prior to now helps you get ready for that. Uh-oh, Holly, you're muted.
They're in there, and I set my alarm for 2 minutes so that I close the room to give them their last 30 seconds or their last 60 seconds.
So what is yours, Holly?
So it's, you said be authentic and be willing to talk about it. For me, it's like that moment of, yeah, I'm not there.
Okay.
I know where I want to go that I'm working on. It's part of my advocacy story. And I think that your advocacy story is part of your leadership story.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
what it is I'm an adult survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And I'm weaving that into my personal advocacy story. And it's something I'm working on and trying to be comfortable with talking about. But it is because of that I became an advocate. It was because I had an opportunity to change my life that has led me to where I am today. So yeah, that's part of my story, and it's difficult and sensitive and all of that. So I know it's part of my leadership story though.
You've said it you've said it. That's it. We don't need more than that. You've said it.
It's just hard. I mean, I'm 10.5 years of therapy to be able to say that statement, and well, lots of money, but yeah, that's.
Congrats to you for doing the work. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Chris, do you have yours?
Yeah, I think so. I worked I got my degree in education, thought I'd be a teacher. And so I was at the Junior Museum here in Tallahassee, and I was the preschool director and everything. And I realized that what I was really good at, there were people who were better at teaching and doing all the details of teaching and everything. But what I was very good at was arranging the environment for them to do that, to provide the environment for them to do that, to provide the leadership that enabled them to do that. And so from that point forward, I looked for those kind of positions. And when I ran the nonprofit, the Early Learning Coalition up here in Tallahassee, I remember, being interviewing people for jobs and everything, I described that what an executive director does is provide the environment for all these people who do it very well to do their job. And that was where I realized that's where my strength was, and when I taught children, because I did teach children learning disabilities and all, what I found was I was really lousy at the lesson plans. What I was very good at is getting into their heads and talking with them and sharing with them and things like that was where my skill set was. So it was just realizing what my strength was, and it's gone from there.
I love that. That's good.
And with that, we have 8 seconds left.
There you go.
Yeah, we did it. 3 people. It's awesome.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing and being vulnerable.
We'll talk later.
Yep, very good. You're getting ready to talk right now, so we're going to send you right back, but I want you to know what your next task is going to be. So how would you describe your current career position to a family member or friend in 30 seconds? 30 seconds. We want your 30-second elevator pitch about what you're doing right now. So Holly's in the way.
All right, they're going back into their rooms and the timer has started. I got this one down, right? Like I love, like I started my own boutique marketing communications firm to help nonprofits that invest in kids and small businesses help build community online and in real life. And I do that through program development, persuasive messaging, digital strategy that includes website building, social media training, all things of that nature. But for me, it's all about helping the little guys be better at what they do and telling their story.
And that's part of your advocacy, isn't it?
It is 100%.
Yeah.
It's why I choose to work for Flacy. I mean, thank you for having me. Why I choose to work with the Florida After School Network. I literally took on a client recently and said to them, like we were talking and I just said, okay, well, thanks for interviewing me. Now I'm going to interview you. Why should I invest my time in you? And ask them that question. And here I am like trying to like pitch for a job. And and we had a really great conversation. He's like, I've never been asked that by a potential vendor before. Yeah.
That's what it looks like when you know your worth. I love it.
All right, Chris. 30 seconds.
I think as executive director of a professional membership association, I am still arranging the environment for everybody who wants to do good work to do good work. So I'm coming up with the tools and the structure and the system that enables whether you're a teacher or a director or a board member or whatever to do the work you love to do for young children. And that's what my job is as executive director.
That's been your through line, Chris. You are a conduit for greatness, for fostering other people. I love it.
There you go.
All right, Shwanda, you told us your first part, but you didn't, hold on, stop. And close rooms. What's yours?
My bio. My bio.
Fair enough.
Yep.
You've gotten there.
I'll tell you another reason I got into it. How much time do I have? Everybody's coming back.
Oh, they're coming back. I guess they did their 30 seconds. Well, at
That's
least Judy and Terry came back.
Yeah, we were quick at that one.
Nice.
That was easy. No.
That was 30 seconds. I love it, ladies. Nice and efficient. All right, we're waiting for a few, Holly.
Oh yeah, 20 seconds to go.
20 seconds.
I maybe could say this in 20 seconds. When I was the ELC executive director, a passionate leader of the homeless coalition here in Tallahassee passed away. Her name was Kay Freeman. And I went to her funeral, and I was in the midst of subsidized childcare and just handling all of that. And I sat there and listened. We sat on the grass in the clay gardens, and everybody talked about her passion and all the things she believed in. And I looked at myself and said, what are people going to say I'm passionate about when I'm done?
Ooh,
It's not subsidized childcare. It's not subsidized childcare. You need to go and find what you're passionate about and make it clear that's what it is. And that's what motivated me to do a lot of the things I do.
Absolutely.
That's
Advocacy for kids, right
Well, the
there.
passion has to be, the
Absolutely.
passion has to be there. It's also for the teachers. It's
Yep,
for,
yep, I see that.
yes. So
that's
And
inspiring.
your leadership.
it was going to someone else's memorial service and going, how does this look to me? You know, so
What are they going to say about me? I love that. All right, this is the last breakout before you're going to pull your full leadership story together. What are your hopes and dreams for the future? What's the next career opportunity that you want to pursue? How can this program help you? Just be thinking about, what does the future look like for you? What are they going to say about you? You see how you lined that up for me, Chris? It's like, I'm taking the alley-oop. What are they going to say about you when it's all said and done? It was the final thing that you did in your career that made a difference for others. So you're off. 3 minutes.
All right, they're in their rooms. Timer is set.
All
Oh,
right.
Chris, I want you to answer this one, please.
well, I'm being recorded, Holly.
Fair enough, fair enough. Okay.
Well played. Yeah,
But-
we'll leave this one alone.
But I can say, being recorded, my hopes and dreams is to lay the foundation for Flacey so that it is self-supporting and can go on for years and years and years and not have to beg for money and to have a good firm structure. That is what my hope is dream for. Whatever happens to me, happens to me. But that's the work I'm about now, is to make that happen. So,
Good answer. Good.
there you
answer.
go. I was ready, Holly.
I recently got asked this question and I didn't know how to answer it. So again, I'm still definitely working on my leadership journey. How I responded was that I just want to be present. I think that in my journey from moving from a pace setter to a leader is that I need to figure out how, it's interesting, I just called myself a pace setter, but not a leader. How to like transition from that, having that healthy work-life balance. I want to be present for my children. I want to be present for my clients. I want to be like, I want to find that presence so that the work that I'm engaged with is meaningful and impactful. But I don't know the vision of where I see myself in 5 years or in 10 years. I don't have that vision yet. And so this is, as a bystander, not engaged in this class, I'm absorbing to help develop and cultivate my leadership story.
I'm right there with you, Holly. The only hope and dream I have is that I instill my daughter with the skills and the knowledge and the ability so that I can pass on the baton to her. That when my final day comes and fighting for, racial equity and social justice is done for me, that her generation will be able to take over and they'll continue to fight. That's all of that right now. So I'm giving it all I have while I'm here and being present as present as I can be, in hopes that we will inspire the next generation of young leaders to do the same.
I love that. I love it. It's such powerful work, especially this DEI, the DEI aspect of all of it, and how I'm learning to see it everywhere. Like I loved earlier, Chris caught herself even when she was saying like, it's not a black or white thing, right? She was it's not an either or. And
I love that.
I'm learning to catch that. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know the right thing to say. Like I was on a call, I was talking about like blacklisting, like what's the term that we use when you whitelist or blacklist? Like it's what a terrible term, like when you blacklist something, but like, what is the term, right? Like, is it the no-go list? Like, don't do this list? Like
blackball, like there's so many terms like that we have to try not to use.
Oh,
yeah.
And we're done. They're all coming back now.
All right.
And away we go.
So ladies, we are in our last stretch of the journey, 10 minutes to the finish line, and this is what we're going to do. I want you all to take just 2 minutes, okay, no more than 2 minutes, pulling your answers to the last 3 breakout rooms together so that you can share out with us the rough draft of your personal leadership story. So whatever you've discussed is preparing you for this moment in time. Everything you did on your worksheet is preparing you for this moment in time. When we come back in 2 minutes, I want you each to give us your 30-second elevator pitch about who you are. What's your personal leadership story? And I believe we can hear from everybody before our time is up today. Holly, what do you think?
I think so, hopefully.
All right, well, let's do it. So send
Well,
everybody.
I want to be clear that we're putting everyone in their own room.
Own room.
So
Yeah.
you're not going to be with anyone. And give me just one more moment to make that become a reality. And how many minutes, Shwanda?
2 minutes.
And
That's
what
all
do
they
you
get.
do?
You're
All
going
right.
to prepare to share out. So you're going to say it to yourselves. You're going to hear it. You're going to be ready to share out.
At the end of this, if there's still time, can I have 30 seconds? I would just like to compliment them and to let them know at the board meeting tonight, I will be telling them how wonderful the session was, so the board members hear it. If I can just say something to them, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I can't wait to hear from them. I'm like really excited. I'm like, I should have said 1 minute so I could hear from them sooner. But I really want to hear what they have to say. I've only done this exercise with college students. It's always amazing to hear what their hopes and dreams are for the future, because they vision in a way that we don't anymore. You know what I mean? They have that imagination for what's possible that we don't. And so it'll be fun to hear adults.
Well, for me, when I think about my degree back in 19 whatever was teaching, I would never have envisioned a degree from Penn State University in special education. I would be here today. There was nothing in my path. This didn't even exist back then.
Right.
You have such a limited, which you can do to look 40 years later. It's amazing how that works.
All right, 60 seconds left.
Following your path and walking through the doors as they open up, Chris, get you here.
That's how it happens.
That's right. All right, I'm going to try to make sure that I can see them listed and just go down the line that way. Okay, I just opened up the participants window.
I use, I have it set up for side-by-side gallery. And then I like adjust it so I can see everyone.
Got it, okay.
If that's helpful. Right
Jenny,
now you won't until they all pop back
Jenny
in.
looks
But,
so ready to share. Jenny, do you want to share first? You look ready.
but let's wait until everyone's back.
Yeah. I just want to make sure she has the heads up.
And I know that Miss Terry has to leave right at 1:30. So if you might want to prioritize her.
Okay, so we'll have Jenny and we'll have Miss Terry.
Hint, hint, Miss Terry.
Is there a way we can get like a guide so we can make sure that we have?
I've been so confused.
It's all right. Jenny's gonna go first, and everybody's gonna know what they're doing after they hear from her.
You guys are
No
funny.
pressure.
You guys are so funny.
I was completely confused, and I think I sat there like a deer in the headlights for a few moments. But
Oh yeah, because I didn't take proper notes. I was going fast as I could, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna.
It's gonna be all right. I promise you, it's gonna work out perfectly. Go ahead, Jenny.
so I basically said that going through kind of the last couple things we talked about, that I think I started off more of like authoritative, visionary when I first took over my style, but not in a sense of telling people really what to do, just setting a standard and then coaching people. I love that role of coaching and mentoring, and then bringing new like ideas into the center. But I'm all about letting my staff, develop into who the best they have a lot of leeway, I guess I should say. Better writer than I am speaker. I can't get my thoughts all together.
All right, just let it flow. There's no right or wrong answer. You're the CEO of you, and this is your story.
Where was I? See, this is exactly. I guess where I'm getting towards the end of my career in at being a director. I'm kind of out.
Mm-hmm.
15 years and done. I'm kind of tired of telling grown-ups what to do. I love children. I love early childhood education. My focus will be in research. In one of the issues that Kimmy and I were talking about is that I think teachers don't have a lot of training in the areas that they need. We have to be kind of everything to everybody now. We have to be, a psychologist, a special education teacher, and they're not taught how to do that. So I would like to make a larger contribution to the field of early childhood in early childhood mental health and technical assistance with challenging behaviors, so on and so forth. That's what I'm going for the PhD. Stick me doing research. I'm good.
You did it. That's it right there. That's it right there. It's that simple. I appreciate that. And I know so much more about you now and about where you want to go from hearing your story. So everybody just give Jenny a hand for being the one to jump out there first and go ahead and do it. I'm very, very proud of you for taking it.
Jenny.
All right, Miss Terry, I believe you're next.
When we went to the breakout, I had no idea what I was supposed to say. So when you go back and look at that recording, you're going to hear me saying, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Well, let me see.
No worries.
I looked at my style of leadership to begin with. I am democratic and I try to use a coaching style, but I'm also I'm the visionary. I already see what I want to see. I already kind of know how I want to see people, the outcome, but I step back and look at the whole team and see what skills are in the team and try to motivate them to be a part of the process and recognize them through the process. My growth areas that I need to work on is more reflection before acting. I had to look back at my early childhood life and just growing up through how I was told, be quiet, don't talk, keep your mouth closed, you're a girl, and as I gotten older, I gotten a little bit more boisterous, but, being an African-American woman, you kind of have to, they think you're angry and you're not angry. You just repressed a lot of things and you see a lot of things and you have to be able to share them. So when you get in a comfortable space, you let it kind of go. And so I think those are the two things. And if I can have something that people remember me for when I'm gone, is that I helped someone see the good in themselves. If it's nothing but being able to recognize the first letter of your name in a pre-K student, or a parent to realize that 8 o'clock in the morning, that's when I need to have my child at school. And if I can do that on a regular basis, then I'm doing well. Just being a motivator. So that's it.
Oh, I love that, Miss Terry. I love it. See, you nailed it. You nailed it. Thank you so much for that. All right, Judy, I see you're next.
Who's next? Me?
Is that Judy? Yes, you.
I'm still not sure how to put this in sequence, logical sequence. But again, looking at who I am, where I've been, and where I am now, and where I want to be. I do want to go down in history as I finish what I started. I want to get that PhD, not just an ED.S, but I also want to take my varied style of leadership, which mostly is democratic, but I too have some bits and pieces from the other, bring some bits and pieces from the other one in to make it more stronger. I like to mentor and coach is what I'm doing right now. I love that, being able to do that. I love being able to bring my experiences, and I do have some growth areas of learning how to be approachable by the staff and learn how to work with those staff members that have those passive aggressive behaviors
Mhm.
and they get emotional. How do I handle that? Even though I know enough to bring them in, one by one, because I would never, humiliate them in front of
Mhm.
each other. I've
That's-
learned that. I learned that a long time ago. You praise in public and you ridicule in private. And my point is not to ridicule, but to help them get out into words, what's going on. So I have
Mhm.
a better picture of what's going on because I'm only there 2 days a week. So I miss some of the stuff that's going on. And to get a better picture, I need to hear from all of them. And we've got one that she's doesn't want to. She's afraid of drama. She's afraid of opening herself up because she's going to ridiculed by the other staff members.
Mhm.
And we're trying to get her to where she can open herself up without getting emotional. And they all got emotional. And I'm like, well, okay, now I've got all three of them emotional. Now where do I go from here?
Right. And leadership is about figuring out the where do we go from here part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, Holly, I don't know if we had a hard stop at 1:30 or if we would have a chance to hear from everybody, because I do want to give anyone who wants to share a chance to share.
I think it was that Miss Terry had a hard stop at 1:30. If folks are, if someone needs to go and would like to go next, because of that, maybe ask them to raise their hand. I see Miss Deborah saying that she's got to stop. But usually if we have a little bit of flexibility, I know last training class, we went over by a couple of minutes, so I'm gonna stop talking.
Okay, so just Miss Deborah, let's hear from you. We'll try to get through as many as we can.
And then I think Miss Sharon would like to go after that possibly.
Sounds good.
My notes are all over the place, but I do have to leave at 1:30 to go to another Lakeland. So my notes is kind of advocating for children, families, and teachers to continue my journey to ensure that all children have access to quality care, both statewide and nationally. That's my goals.
I love it.
That's a big one, yes. But that's my dream. I guess my mission. I do have to, my growth areas is building some self-confidence. When you said that communication, and it has things to do with trauma, I really had to reflect on that because, that abusive leadership that you talked about, I had experienced that and it sucked a lot of my soul out of me, and so I'm getting it back. So, and I've always been a leader and I'm not going to let anybody take that from me, but I did. That is sometimes, people are just punitive and we have to just pray and let God be our human resource,
I
and
love it.
and it all works out.
That's right.
Just keep your mission, keep your vision in mind, and don't give up. And I still have a lot of years to go, so we still got a lot of work.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. So Miss Sharon and then Cammie, I see wants to go after Miss Sharon.
Okay, this is what I wrote. I didn't realize we had to record when we were in our rooms, but I says, I'm primarily a democratic leader that incorporates a variety of leadership styles. I'm perfecting my patience and listening to others, being an assertive leader. And I'm really ready to help make a difference in this changing early childhood education field. And what I want people to say about me at the end, she made a difference.
Yes, yes. I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Cammie, you're next.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know what's going on with me following instructions today. I was working on like a whole fluid statement. So this is what I have. My name is Cammie and I have been in education for the past 9 years. I have served as a Head Start teacher, third grade teacher, and intensive reading teacher at the high school level in public schools. I currently serve as a literacy specialist for Reading and Math Inc. an education nonprofit that offers evidence-based programs for students in pre-K through 3rd grade. As a literacy specialist who identifies as both an authoritative and democratic leader, I train AmeriCorps members to deliver high-quality literacy interventions to more than 800 3 to 5-year-olds in Miami-Dade and Broward County. One of my strengths is my ability to coach others. I am adept at helping others identify their strengths in order to meet both personal and organizational goals. Because I believe training is crucial to employee success and reverberates across organizations and has a strong impact on student success, I would like to next serve in a training capacity in which I will have the opportunity to engage in strengths-based coaching that helps educators focus and enhance their locus of control.
Miss Kimmy, you got your cover letter right there, girl. That was great. That was great. Right. You nailed
I want to
that.
be Cammy.
Right. Can we all be Kimmy when we grow up?
You now have my last statement. I want to be like her.
I love it. I love it. So I know that we've run over time, and I figured that this would happen, but this is good. That means we had rich conversation. And so if anybody else wants to share before we land the plane, the floor is open. Let me know either through a raised hand or through unmiking yourself. I want to hear from you. Go ahead, Katie. I see your hand.
I can share. I just did like a list of bullet points.
Nice.
So it might not flow. I said, I am a passionate educator at heart, using that background to shape my work in quality assurance. In my first job, I learned that when you face a problem, have a solution to go along with it.
Nice.
I'm going to fight to change things for the better for those who either cannot fight for themselves or are already in that fight. I'm an assertive and democratic leader who wants to facilitate growth and development of my team and my students. And my growth area is to learn how to help those who are stuck in place see the exciting things a change of thinking can bring.
Yes, very nice, Katie. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Very well done. All right, anybody else? I'm not going to force you, but I just want to leave the floor open for anybody else that wants to share.
I'll
Dominique, I see you. I see you, brave.
I just kind of did it based off of when you said present, past, and future. So
Yeah,
it's just a small blurb. I just put that I'm a lead Head Start teacher for Early Head Start, and that my 3rd grade teacher changed my my life and inspired me to teach from the heart. And I hope to create and hold my own trainings in the near future, inspire others by setting the foundation to create other strong leaders in the early childhood field.
Boom, in less than 30 seconds. I love it.
That was a serious elevator pitch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I love it. All right. I hope I didn't miss anybody or miss any hands. Did I? Okay. All right. So we spent a lot of time talking, and so we're not going to do a Q&A. I think we got that done throughout the whole presentation. But I wanted to just leave you with a few key takeaways. This personal leadership story that you worked on is just a rough draft. Continue to work on it. Let it be a tool to help you quickly and concisely share who you are with everyone you meet. You never know when somebody you meet will be the key to the next opportunity. Identifying how the past experiences have shaped your leadership story can be a valuable tool in thinking about where you want to go. What have you experienced and how does that impact where you want to go? And like Chris said, what you want them to say about you at the end. Develop and build upon your personal leadership story regularly. This is a fluid tool. Continue to use it, write it out, continue to think about how you would want to pitch yourself to somebody who's meeting you for the first time. And the most important part, remember that you are all amazingly unique and amplify what's special about you. All right, so I just want to thank you all. You're amazing, ladies. Thank you for staying engaged. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for figuring out what to do, even if my instructions weren't clear. Everybody came away with exactly what they were supposed to, which is what I expected would happen. And I'm so glad to have had this time with you this afternoon. So thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Thank
Shwanda.
you so much.
And let me just say thank you, Shwanda, and thank you to all of you. I want you to know I've really enjoyed being part of it and listening in. And there's a board meeting tonight, and I'm going to be telling them how wonderful this is and how wonderful each of you are. So thank you for allowing me to join in to this journey and to listen in.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right, guys. And with that, I'll end today's call. The recording and the links and the slide deck that Shwanda provided will all be in our shared drive, and you'll get a reminder of how to access that probably a little later today. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Holly.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, Holly.
Bye-bye.
Good luck